An extravaganza in Moscow last month set a new world record in attendance at a single event and confirmed my guest as the greatest crowd puller in the world today. Some have called his work elevator music, others say it's inspiring. Whatever the case, at least 50 million of his recordings are out there in the world, and he says he's still trying to get the music right. Jean-Michel Jarre, very warm welcome to you on Hard Talk. When you were in Moscow, September the 7th, 3.5 million people got you into the record books once again. Weren't you nervous about a crowd this size?
Yes, you're always nervous about any kind of audience. When you have an audience of that scale, it's obviously so different and very impressive. And but also I start not to thinking too much about it. I mean, what's nice about an outdoor concert such as this one is the fact that people are creating their own theater themselves. I mean, it's not like if you are trying to put all these people, a crowd, into a theater, into four walls. Actually, they're creating their area more or less by themselves. So
it's not just you giving to them, but they give to you.
That's right, exactly. And there is a kind of convivial attitude, a kind of sharing concept, sharing atmosphere, and sharing, in a sense, it's a one-off. So it's something that's not going to be reproduced. Everybody knows that you have no second chance for the audience as well as for the artist. And in these days where everything is available through TV screens, through satellites, through videos, through computers, through internet, I mean, to go back to the very simple thing of being gathered just to share one unique moment, like when you are in front of an eclipse, for instance. You know that it's not going to happen a second time, and it's developed a very specific magic.
Well, let's just take a look at some of the pictures from Moscow, because they were extraordinary sights. People said they hadn't actually seen anything like it since the Stalin funeral. Do you ever think...
It's less dramatic.
Do you ever think that why me? Why am I able to actually get so many people out onto the streets, get so many people out to the concerts?
Obviously that is an answer I don't have, but I would say that it's obviously not only me. I would be crazy to think it's because of me. I'm not at that stage yet. I think it's the scale of the project itself, that is wider. The scale is wider, or the project is wider than just performance and the human being. It's a wider picture involving the architecture, the environment, the cultural environment, the giant projections that transform or hijack a district or a building such as the fantastic university building of the city of Moscow.
The wedding cake, then.
Yeah, it's like Golden City or Metropolis. It has that kind of dramatic magic feel. I mean,
is it emotional for you? These concerts, you get emotional?
Yes, because this project was really a kind of civic event. I've been commissioned by the city of Moscow to do an outdoor concert to celebrate the 850th anniversary of the city. And what I tried to put in this project, on a musical point of view, was based on Oxygen, but with special arrangement. And on a graphic and visual point of view, I really wanted to convey the kind of elements and ingredients that have been so strong in the Russian culture.
So you reflect that in the visuals?
Absolutely. I transformed it. I used
your own son in Lumiere, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, in a sense, more than that. It was really like a kind of multimedia project involving video, involving graphics. And what was interesting, I think, was to try to show to the Russian people these days that we stole so much, the Americans, the Europeans, to the Russian culture during the 20th century. Even during a period they didn't realize what was happening. All their fantasies about the West have been sometimes generated by themselves. And when you are taking the advertising business, the rock culture, all the graphic work from the 60s or the 50s or the 70s in America, in England, in France. They have been really very influenced by constructivist artists and Russian graphic artists. Well, I really wanted to play with this and showing that it would be a good time to pay them a bit of a tribute.
But you also wanted to play, if I can use that term, with space as well. You had this live link-up with the Mir space station. What was that about? Does space attract you, possibilities of space?
I don't know. It's strange that how in my life I've been linked with space without asking, in a sense. In Houston, I've been involved with this project with the 25th anniversary of NASA and having the astronauts, having a lot of contact with astronauts. It was linked to the tragedy of Challenger at that time, in '86. And in Russia, Mir station is a symbol of Russian technology, but also of a kind of retro future type of technology, a kind of future belonging to the image of the future belonging to the 50s, like sci-fi would be retro, like 2001 being behind us. I mean, Mir is carrying all this. So, I mean,
carrying it in a pretty dangerous state at the moment, though.
At the moment, yes, absolutely.
Tell me about China, because when you went to China in the 80s, you were the first Western artist to perform there. They must have regarded you as some kind of subversive, didn't they?
Yes,
they let you in with a lot of reluctance.
Yes, it took me quite a long time. It took me around 2 years to do this project. It was strange because, first of all, I've been asked by the Chinese government, and suddenly they realized that it could be maybe a bit dangerous at that time, too soon to introduce to the Chinese audience a kind of modern type of project with involving graphics and modern music and I mean.
Did you have a conscience about this because it's a country with a pretty dubious human rights record? Did you not feel that? Perhaps you shouldn't bestow your patronage on...
You have to understand that it was exactly in a period of the century where China opened in a sense, it opened the door slightly, just for 5 years. But just after the fall of the Gang of Four and before '89, it was in '81. And then they wanted to open a little more doors to foreign artists. And at that time, you had a kind of tentative of being a bit more democratic. And
what were the audiences like?
The audience was a strange mixture of the first night. We had a lot of officials and military people. So the second night we decided to buy the tickets because the tickets were nothing. Maybe it was maybe $100 for the whole place to buy everything, and we distributed the tickets.
You went out into the streets.
Yeah, with people, and then the second night you had a lot of the real China, and then the five. Originally, I was supposed to do one concert in Beijing, one in Shanghai, and it ended with three in Beijing, and two in Shanghai. And it has been really, and in Shanghai it's really like the Napoli of Orient. They are very Latin in the way they act and they behave. I mean, I remember Chinese people, literally throwing other Chinese guys like puppets, I mean, to show their enthusiasm. I mean, it was like playing on a different planet, really.
Michel Jarre, what's the formula for your music? Because it's clearly music for the masses. You've sold tens of millions of discs, records around the world. What is the formula for you in your music?
If I would answer you that a lot of artists could answer if we only could know what the formula is. I think it's based on the idea that I wanted to develop a music that could be not linked with the lyrics necessarily. Thinking that when you are doing a song with lyrics, you are telling a story to somebody. You are into a narrative process. When you are doing music without lyrics, you let the audience create their own images, their own story, their own film in their minds.
You talked about the painters Cézanne and Renoir, and you said they used to paint the same painting. You talked about Fellini always wanting to try to do the same film. Does Jean-Michel Jarre always want to play the same kind of music? You always try to do the same thing?
I think that an artist has probably one proposal to do in his lifetime, and it's by trying to improve this proposal, even exploring various ways, obviously. But by the end of the day, or by the end of your life, you realize that actually, like a craftsman who is trying to create the same table all his life with the idea that one day we'll get one right. It's this hope, I think, that makes you and makes me doing music, continuing doing what I'm doing.
But how have you developed over the last 20 years? How do you think you've changed as a musician over the last 20 years?
I think that it's your life that obviously changes you. It's not so much technology. I think what Chinese musician wanted to express 5,000 years ago, or a classical musician 2 centuries ago, or a pop musician in the 60s, or myself, or some other people today, or musicians in 2 centuries from now, have been or the same kind of inspiration in terms of emotions. I mean, the relation between life and death, the notion of solitude, passion, hate, love, they are timeless. They are just the instruments we're using that are different. And I'm using the instruments of my time. I think that people like Scriabin or Tchaikovsky or Vivaldi would maybe have used the instruments I'm using today if they were living today.
So, Michel Jarre, are you a sensitive man? Do you mind what the critics say about you? Sometimes people have talked about yuppie elevated music. I mean, do you get hurt by things like that?
Yes and no. I mean, as long as I heard in the elevator Mahler, Miles Davis, or the Beatles, and I'm amongst them, it's fine.
So, I mean, even your mother-in-law said you were too gimmicky. You were a sweet boy, but you were too gimmicky, she said.
Yeah, I mean, that I don't know. I mean, I think it's linked with sometimes with a lot of preconceived ideas you have with technology. As soon as you are starting to work with electronic instruments, people are making this confusion that electronic instruments are like machines, and machines are not able are not compatible with sensitivity. And we all know that it's the instrument. It's the musicians behind the instrument who is able to provide sensitivity. But I'm not trying to convince anybody about what they should feel about what I'm doing anyway.
But in any case, do you say, well, what do I need the critics for? I have 55 million records out there.
Yeah, it's not that. It's not that. And it's always better to feel that people are understanding what you're doing, or feeling what you try to express. But it would be mad to think that everybody will instantly fall in love in your work. And fortunately, we are not in those kind of ancient communist period, for example, like in China, where you have 7 pieces and no choice, and people had to learn all these pieces by heart before going out to somebody else. That was one of the crazy ideas of Mao's wife, in charge of the culture at that time. They said, okay, all the Chinese people should now listen 7 pieces of music, whatever they like them or not. Fortunately, we have a lot of choice these days, and I think I'm amongst all other artists to be listened to or not. You can always switch off if you don't like it.
A lot of people who've achieved the kind of success that you have in the artistic world have taken to drugs, sex, all this. What kept you on the rails? You never got sidetracked, did you? What kept you away from all the excesses?
I mean, it could be anything. I mean, I would say that it's first of all in your genes. I think the way you are, the way you look, is not only what you do, but also who you are. And my mom, for instance, is quite extraordinary. She's 82 and she looks 60, and she's incredible. And she always said, like Churchill, no sport. She said she never did any kind of jogging or anything. So, you know, I'm just commenting this as an example of something that can keep you in shape. You have to find your own way. I mean,
has she been a powerful influence on you in your life, your mother?
Oh yes, I think like everyone else, good or bad sometimes. I think in my case it has been rather positive because she's quite an extraordinary woman. She's been into French resistance. She has made a lot of things in her life, and she has that kind of, in a sense, French obstination, whereas Gallic obstination. But I mean, getting older, I realize that it's quite a good quality.
Tell me about Charlotte Rampling and your relationship with her. To what extent has this helped keep you stable, keep you on the rails?
Yes, sometimes to gather two unstabilized characters are creating a kind of balance situation.
Is that what happened in your case?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that Charlotte is a very strong person, but also very vulnerable. She's an actress, and she's in the world of words and acting. As a musician, in the world of maybe abstraction, in terms of how you convey emotions, in a sense. A musical point of view, music is probably the most abstract of expression. And I think this kind of audiovisual relationship we have, in a sense.
But it's a distant relationship. It was a distant relationship, wasn't it? Because you bought her a house, but you only visited by invitation, didn't you?
No. That's no. We always been very close together, and our kids grew up in the house. We've been very close as a family life. Now, what we decided at a very early stage in our relationship was to not commit ourselves. For instance, when I'm working, she's not too much into the studio, for instance, or when she's doing a movie, I'm not too close, because I think, for instance, to do this show, I mean, we have to close the doors. I mean, we have instantly to create a kind of small tribe. And if any kind of ingredient from outside or of person is interrupting this, you are destroying and killing a kind of magic. And
so it was for artistic reasons. She didn't want to keep you at a distance.
Absolutely, but apart from that, we've always been very close in terms of day-to-day life and inspiration. And I mean,
You're living with someone else though now, and she is apart.
No. I mean that's too much kind of tabloid point of view. No. We still have a normal relationship, but I mean, in 20 years of relationship, sometimes we are not so close from some period of time, but that's, I think, happens fortunately or unfortunately to a lot of people. But that doesn't change our relationship and who we feel from each other.
She says there is great love, fun, and tremendous tenderness between you both. Do you feel the same way?
I agree entirely.
Tell me, you started playing at the age of 5. You came from a musical family, didn't you? Because your father was writing film scores, wasn't he? So the music was in your blood at a very early age.
Yes, my parents split up when I was 5 years old. So my father is a music composer, but I grew up far away from the influence of my father, who went to America at a very early age, and for me and for him. And I didn't see him until 20 years old. So I really grew up far away from his influence. So maybe it worked on the level of chromosomes, but not in the direct day-to-day kind of spirit or state of mind.
How active were you as a student in the 60s? Because you were a student during the troubled times, weren't you?
Yes, I mean, it was a very necessary time, and I studied classical music, but I studied I used to play in some rock bands, and during the revolution, the student revolution in Paris, I was in a music research center working on all modern type of music, electronic music. It's where I discovered how to play, to consider music not only in terms of melodies, but or solfeggio or harmony, but in terms of sounds. What I learned there was what techno music is doing now. Grabbing any kind of sound, the sound of the rain, the sound of the train, of the car, and making music with it. And that was pretty a revolution in itself at that time. And this period has been very interesting on the creative point of view, because when you are breaking barriers, you have that kind of magic moment where nothing is built again, so you can, in a very free way, go almost anywhere. It's not good if it lasts too long in a country, but for a certain period of time, if you are able to witnessing and using this, is something very, very positive.
Given that you have now had such enormous success, you could be forgiven for getting complacent, because in a sense you've got no more mountains to climb, have you? You've reached the pinnacle, you've got this tremendous success. What do you want to do now? What do you want to achieve?
I'm not at all in that kind of state of mind. I always had this feeling that everything I do isn't finished, and that I have to improve and to explore other ways. When I look back, I think that I feel really like a beginner. For instance, this year I started my first indoor tour ever, and I take great. It's very exciting because it's the first time I'm confronted to the fact of doing a concert more or less every day, and it's a new experience. And I know that I'm not going to do that all my life. I want to do this once. I wanted to do it for quite a long time, so I'm doing it for the whole year, this Oxygen tour all over the world, and then I'll move into something else. But I really would like to explore other things in music. I think that it's always a lack of time. So I'm certainly not satisfied at all with what I've achieved, and I've not achieved so much anyway. So I think that I need more time.
What do you dream of? Not money, clearly, do you? The money is not.
No,
doesn't seem to be that important to you.
No, because most of the free concerts I've done, costed money than the reverse. And I think it's money as. You have two ways of considering money. You are all obsessed by money and you do things for money, or it's just a tool and a way of achieving things. It's obviously what I'm in this second category, definitely speaking. I don't know if it's comfortable, but it's definitely the way I am, and the way we are, and the way Charlotte is as well. And talking about my dreams, I obviously would like to develop some of this relationship between architecture and music, and using all the technology of my time, all the tools that I have that are available to develop a kind of art form between this land art and street art that I've done, for instance, in Moscow recently. But also on a musical point of view, I would like to develop music that could be really using some of the techno feel and this kind of energy related to the ancient days, this tribal day and this very organic approach to music.
So you've got a lot of ideas. Do you ever think you'll have time to answer the millions of emails and millions of messages that you get from people around the world? Give them some hope. Tell them that you're going to answer them someday.
No, I think it's very important to understand that when you are sending a message, it's not necessary to be answered. It's very important to be able to convey feelings, emotions.
But you read them, you see them, you see these.
Absolutely, yes. I'm trying to be as close as possible of the people who are writing messages on this website I opened rather successfully since the beginning of the year. We've all been astonished about the number of people surfing and visiting the sites in these last few months. So I try to be as close as possible. But then you are generating, you are generating complications in your life by creating this kind of thing, because more you use communication tools, more you're trapping yourself by dividing your time more and more in ridiculous tiny portions in the day. I'm running after the next meeting and the next, and I really would like to stop this. This is one of my dreams, talking about dreams.
But the fans are important to you, aren't they?
Absolutely, but I think also the fans are important, but I mean, not at that kind of first degree, or not as, it's not as simple as that. I mean, people, they know they have their own lives, they know how difficult it is to cope with time. So, I mean, sometimes, most of the time, it's more a message of appreciation. They're not necessarily waiting a specific answer, and I hope that the answers will be in my next project.
Jean-Michel Jarre, thank you very much for being with us, sharing your views on Hard Talk. Good luck on your travels. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye.